Hello. Explaining the history of Western art in English is challenging for me. If you find any mistakes, please let me know in the comments section. Let's study it together. The oldest painting in the world left today is said to be a painting in a cave. They are said to be about 20,000 to 30,000 years old, or even older. Some caves in France and Spain still contain drawings of wild animals and hunting that were made by primitive people. It is thought that the wish to catch a lot of prey. About 4,000 years ago, there were big objects made by moving large stones that could not be carried by one person. It is evident that people began to cooperate with each other to create works of art. Later, a great civilization developed as people gathered near the sea and on the banks of the river. On the banks of the Nile, the Egyptian civilization flourished. Egypt is famous for its pyramids, which are large tombs of kings. Inside the pyramids, various decorations and masks were made to prevent the king from getting lost in the world after his death. And many pictures were painted like a spell. By this time, they were not just simply painting people and animals. It can be said that many of them had religious significance. Civilizations that developed near the sea, that famous places were the Mycenaean and Cretan civilizations of the Aegean Sea. The art of the Cretan civilization is the bright sea people drawing, as seen in the dolphin murals. It is characterized by maritime civilization. On the other hand, Mycenaean civilization's artworks depict soldiers. The castle of the Mycenaean civilization were surrounded by stones to protect them. Around 800 BC to 100 BC, Greek and Roman art flourished. Both Greek and Roman civilizations absorbed elements from previous civilizations in the Asian and nearby areas, and the culture of the painting and sculpture flourished. Paintings and sculptures produced during the ancient Greek and Roman periods were the foundation for the formation of Western art, and their beautiful works of art are still considered examples of art 1,000 years later and even 2,000 years later. About 2,000 years ago, Christianity was born. After the birth of Christianity, Christian art flourished for a long time. The 3rd to 5th centuries are classified as early Christian. From the 5th century onwards, Byzantine art developed in East Rome. In the 10th and 12th centuries, Romanesque art developed. Romanesque churches are characterized by thick walls, small windows. There was a lot of fresco painting at this time. The 12th to 14th centuries saw the development of Gothic art. Gothic churches, in contrast to Romanesque churches, are characterized by it has thin walls, high roofs, and large windows. The windows are so large that beautiful stained glass windows have developed. Even in 15th century, Christianity was still considered the subject of painting and sculpture. It was also during this time that the Renaissance rediscovered the value of the real world and the beauty of the nature outside of religion. It's called the Age Renaissance. The word Renaissance means rebirth. Renaissance art is characterized by the revival and furthermore development of the ancient Greek and Roman aesthetic sense. Masters such as Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Raphael were born in this area. The 17th to 18th centuries were marked by lavish works of art, supported by the authority of the church and the wealth of the princes and nobility. The style of art in the 17th century is called Baroque, which means distorted pearl. Artworks used for effective missionary purposes by the church required dramatic movement, elaborate ornamentation, and excessive grandeur to draw the viewer in. The term Baroque, which means distorted pearl, was initially used to deride such a work of art. In the 18th century, the delicate and decorative Rococo style of art became popular, especially in France, became a favorite among the aristocracy. It was a time when the aristocracy was very extravagant. Gradually, the time for revolution was approaching. Incidentally, after this period, the neoclassicism was born, in which they tried to make the Greek and Roman art as a model for their own art. The French Revolution, which broke out in 1789, had a huge impact on painting. It is called Romanticism at this time. Napoleon, who led the French Revolution, considered painting to be an important propaganda tool, so he ordered large numbers of portraits of himself, his family, and his entourage, and his victories in battle. The Romantic painters expressed freedom, liberty, and passions on their paintings. It's almost as if the paintings was done in the midst of a revolutionary mood. As a reaction to this, there were people who wanted to be more relaxed and paint from their own lives and nature. This was called realism. After the revolution, gradually the emperor's rule became stronger again. This dissatisfaction made painters turn their eyes to the reality of the society, and they started to paint not only the nature and landscape around them, but also the pictures of the peasants and workers. Gustave Courbet, a realist painter, held the first solo exhibition in the world. Until then, artworks were only shown in a public exhibition called Salon. In the 19th century, in 1839, photography was invented. As a result, it became a problem for painters to make a picture like a photograph. It was not a viable business for them. Beginning around 1860, a group of people gathered in Paris, in France, attempted to free themselves from the constraints of the mold and paint freely. They painted outside, dared to leave brush strokes, or painted in a way that depicted the freshness of color and the impression of light without mixing colors completely, which is called Impressionism. The Impressionist painters also actively held their own exhibitions in response to the Salon. From this time, artists began to paint freely. Fauvism with a touch of rough brush strokes. Cubism, which incorporates various points of view into one painting. Abstract painting that doesn't depict anything real object. Futurists who celebrated the machines and speed of civilization. Dadaism, which rejected the established order and common sense. Surrealism, real expression but unrealistic and fantastic expression. In this way, the painters were not bound by tradition, but were looking for new values. However, the judging process for exhibition of Salon was extremely tradition bounded. So from 1884, an independent exhibition was held. Unlike previous art exhibitions, there is no judging and no prize, unlike the salons of old values, which are bound by tradition. Anyone could exhibit anything they wanted as long as they paid for it. At such an art exhibition, an incident occurred in 1917. Marcel Duchamp's artwork Fontaine was submitted to the independent exhibition. Duchamp tried to exhibit Toilet Bowl. He didn't make this work himself. It was an industrial toilet. That work was criticized. As it was an independent exhibition, he could have shown anything, but the organizer didn't allow him to show that artwork. However, Duchamp's work begged the question, what is art? This question continues to today. This question is an important theme in art today. In the late 20th century, saw the birth of many more expressions of art. Pop art, that visual expression rooted in daily life. Minimalist art, with minimal shapes and colors. Land art, which uses the land and the sea itself as a place of expression. Conceptual art, that focus on the concept rather than the appearance of the work. There are many different art forms available, including the end of the 20th century and into the 21st century, the internet has become easy to use. Anyone can now easily publish their work on social networking sites without holding an exhibition. Every day, countless works are released. On the other hand, the art market where so-called professional artists exhibit their work, has also become more active in the 21st century, and works of art are commanding higher prices. In the art marketplace, it seems that artwork was bought and sold for investment. Naturally, some artists have rebelled against it. I'm sure many of you know about Banksy. 2018 Sotheby's auction in London may have surprised many of you. As soon as the work sells for £1 million, the work it was cut by shredded. To my surprise, it is said that the value of the work is rising. In 2019, Mauricio Catalan exhibited a banana taped to the wall as if to say, "This is what art is all about. The work itself is worthless." Interestingly, this art piece also came with a high price. As you know, our lifestyle itself is changing a lot this year 2020. The art will be much different than it has been in the past. Thank you for your watching. See you next time.